Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got the tank review for the brand new Western Alliance Era 3 Premium MBT, the Leclerc T4 Terminator. Now this is the tank that is currently in the Ultimate Season Pass for the brand new Season Pass. It is a tank that you'll pick up for 4,000 gold, because if you don't know about the Season Pass, you basically pay 6,000 gold for the Ultimate Pass, 2,000 of that is for the main normal Season Pass, and you get that 2,000 gold back with change for completing the Season Pass, just for getting to level 100. So essentially you're paying for an Era 3 tank for 4,000 gold, which is always a very, very, very good deal. And what's this tank like? Well, the Leclerc Terminator, it is a pretty damn solid MBT in Era 3. If you enjoy Era 3, this tank is pretty solid, and that is because it's very, very similar to the Leopard KWS3. It's very similar to the Thumper. That it is basically the base tank in the Leclerc, but with a 140mm gun. Now, this tank is very similar to the KWS3 and to the Thumper in the way it plays, in the way that the gun feels. And if you've played those tanks, you'll have a very similar experience with this vehicle, but just in the Leclerc format. I thought it was a pretty decent tank to play. I've definitely enjoyed playing the tank as actually to what the tank is. It's just if you enjoy Era 3 or not, pretty much is whether it's going to be worth picking up. But on the whole, it is a pretty damn solid tank. That's because its armour holds up pretty decently. Lower plate isn't too good, but at the end of the day, that's a weak spot, which is always great to have. Its mobility is pretty solid. Its gun handling is actually pretty good for the 140. It's not as troll as it may seem at times, although it does feel derpy sometimes. Turret armour is pretty damn solid as well. If you've played the Leclerc, you'll know how this thing feels to play. You've just got a bigger gun. So without further ado, let's get into the statistics of the Leclerc T4. It's because I just saw the Leopard KWS3. And yeah, we've got a 71.2 km/h top speed with a 32 km/h reverse speed, 1500 horsepower engine, which is 26.13 horsepower per ton ratio, which means you have no problem hitting that 71 km/h top speed whatsoever. 32 km/h reverse speed is also pretty damn nice. It means you pull back very, very quickly. And if you want to help this out by having the traction system and getting up to about 78 kilometers an hour, you will hit that with having such a good power to weight ratio. You have a 10% internal fire chance, which is actually on the low end of internal fire chances. This thing hasn't been set on fire for me yet. It doesn't seem to get set on fire that much, and having that low fire chance does help that. You got 3,750 hit points, which is a damn big slab of hit points. It's really nice to have. It means you can trade quite effectively, and especially when you're getting hit by something with 500 alpha, you're slapping them for 700, which is damn nice for the vehicle. 38 degrees a second hull rotation speed means this thing does turn pretty quickly, but if it doesn't feel like it turns quickly enough for you, you could run clutch braking in conjunction with the traction system and get that much, much quicker. Ground resistances, the 2.1 on soft is actually not the best for an Era 3 MBT. A lot of them are getting below 2 in their terrain resistances, but on the whole, does not hold back your top speed. You just hit that in general anyway. Camo, no one cares, Era 3 MBT. View range, 565 meters, isn't that good for an Era 3 MBT, but on the whole, you will still spot everything you're going to see depending on the distance. And yeah, it's one of those things, because you've got true vision, it doesn't matter as much with your view range. You've got 40 degrees a second turret traverse, which is slower than the hull traverse, so bear that in mind that your turret will turn quicker than the tracks, and if you help that out with rapid aim or any other perk like that, it will turn faster than your tracks, and you'll be able to get the gun on target much, much quicker, which is good for the tank. You got 0.87 accuracy during rotation, which isn't that nice realistically for a Era 3 MBT. A lot of them are pushing below 5 at this point. If you don't know what the accuracy during movement and rotation is, it's basically how much your gun blooms out while turning the turret and moving the tank. And yeah, 0.87 is actually quite high for an Era 3 tank. Same as 2.21 accuracy during movement. But then again, it's actually more in line with what some of these tanks have with these 140mm guns. You've got 20 degrees of elevation, which is solid. 8 degrees of gun depression, which is pretty nice. It means you are good on a ridgeline. You're not like some of the Soviet-esque vehicles where, you know, they're struggling with the gun depression on a ridgeline. You can go hull down and have a laugh and love how good your turret armor is. You've got a 10.9 second reload, which is 3,850 DPM, with a 0.31 accuracy at 100 meters, which again is pretty accurate, but again, a lot of the MBTs are starting to be a lot lower in Era 3, so you do start to feel that compared to something like an M1 Abrams or even the standard Leclerc, where they're, you know, more like 2.5, 2.6, right? You've got 2.1 second aim time as well, which is, again, pretty good. You get that down to about 1.93 seconds with the build that I run, which means you don't really notice it too badly, especially when you're running everything you can to knock these stats down in terms of the accuracy. The gun doesn't bloom out all that much. You've got 848 penetration on the standard APFS DS round and 320 penetration on the HESH round, with 700 damage and 870 on the HESH, which is really nice. 700 alpha is solid for an MBT. 870 HE damage is also really, really nice. And if you were to run the ammo swapper, or if you knew what you were going after, you could load these 320 pen HESH rounds and have some fun with some of the light tanks, because you can pen them with this 320 and you start doing some massive damage, especially if you get up behind people. If you run the ammo swapper on this, that could be useful. I don't, but if you wanted to run the ammo swapper, the HE can be very, very useful depending on whether you've got the drop on someone or where you shoot them in general, to be fair. You've got 2,050 meters a second shell velocity on the APFS DS, by the way, which is absolutely phenomenal. It is very, very fast. It means you don't, even at great range, you don't have to give too much lead. And 1,350 meters a second on the shell velocity of the HESH rounds, which means the HESH are a lot slower than the APFS DS. And even though that is fantastic shell velocity, it feels a lot derpier firing the HESH than it does the APFS DS. It's just one of those weird things. And then you've got 160% silver bonus down here, which is really nice for an Era 3 tank. It means it makes a good amount of credits. If you don't have any other Era 3 premiums and you wanted a good credit maker, this is what the Leclerc is. 160%. It means it makes good silver. 115% tank XP bonus and 110 on the Commander XP bonus. Let's have a look at the module viewer. So there's the ammo racks. That is a funny looking ammo rack on the Leclerc T4. A little cylindrical thing on the left hand side. So if you shoot this thing on the left hand side through the lower plate, you're quite likely to ammo rack it. Same as shooting it through that drive wheel on the left, you will actually damage this thing's ammo rack. And also, the ammo rack is all the back end of the turret of the T4. So if you were to get up behind this thing, you're actually probably better to shoot the back of the turret than shoot the rear of the Leclerc T4, because you're actually more likely to ammo rack it in that way. If you get an ATGM, aim for that back of the turret, because you could pop its lid, and that would be quite funny. And that'd be a lot of damage too. There is where the crew sits as well. You can see that's a funky looking block for a crew. That doesn't look like a crew member to me, but yeah, okay, well, yeah, that's where the crew sits, and that's a lot of engine blocks. That is a lot of engine blocks for the Leclerc T4. I mean, I've not really had my engine knocked out that much. I've had my fuel tanks go quite a bit, but not actually get set on fire, but I suppose that's because of where all these engine block bits are. But yeah, so if you shoot it anywhere around the tank, the likelihood is you might actually damage its engine. And here is the armour for those that want to look at it. Obviously, it's not as useful to look at this screen because you can't really tell effective thickness. And that's what matters more than anything, because you might go, well, it's only got 570mm of armour on that turret front, right? I've got 700 pen, I'll go through that. But then it's also layered, and it'll have big blocks of other armour behind it like that, right? Like 50mm there. So it'd be nice if we could actually one day get a armor viewer that told us effective thickness when we looked at certain sections. But yeah, for looking at Leclerc's armor like that, it's pain because we can't actually tell what the effective thickness is. But you can tell the lower plate is only 60mm thick. And is there any plate behind that 60mm? There is not. So basically, if you're shooting at a Leclerc, shoot that lower plate, because that is where you are going to pen this thing frontally, just like on the standard Leclerc 2 and on the piece cells. But yeah, that's the armour. What do I run in terms of a crew and equipment? Well, for the crew, I have stored it in the MBT-80. Let's go put it in there. And we run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, 6th Sense, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun, Deadeye, Clutch Braking, and Track Mechanic. I felt like this thing didn't turn quick enough for me, so I wanted to make it quicker with the clutch braking in conjunction with the traction system, so that the tank felt like it turned on the sixpence a bit quicker. Deadeye to just have the meme of using this big gun, more likely to damage modules with 6%. You know, if I hit an ammo rack with the higher module damage of a big gun, I feel like I might detonate it in that way or set things on fire. That's why I run Deadeye for the memes. But if you didn't want to do that, you could quite happily now, with the respec cost at 10 gold, although at the minute it's 50% off, so it only costs 5 gold to respec one crew skill. I could have got rid of that and put Rapid Aim on. I mean, Rapid Aim is probably a better one to take in general for the crew than Deadeye, because you make the turret traverse better, and it keeps it up with the clutch braking and the traction system and making the track traverse better, right? So you can keep the turret traverse so it's still better. I run all 3 gun perks, because the accuracy during movement and rotation and the standard accuracy isn't quite as good as a lot of the tanks in Era 3, so I want to make sure this gun is phenomenal. Add to that I don't run the gun stabilizer, and these 3 perks will help me in that regard, in not running the gun stabilizer and being able to spec out something else. And then these 3 perks are what you're going to run on every crew in Era 3. So yeah, one thing with the crews, like I say, is if you want to respec any crews at this point, it's only going to cost you 5 gold for a week or 2, and that's a lot better. And obviously this is the new feature that they've brought in with the last patch, or say the new feature, the returned feature of being able to respec one crew skill for 10 gold. So you can do that, and it makes it a lot easier. And it makes it a lot easier for me showing you guys as well, like being able to just spec out one skill for another, right? So, anyway, I digress. Let's have a look at what I run in terms of equipment. Well, I run the food, because food is a massive boost to a tank. I run the advanced loader, the vents, and the traction system. Now, there's lots of different ways you could set this tank up. If you feel like the gun is too derpy, you could run the gun stabilizer to make it even more snappy, like a lot of the tanks are in Era 3. If you feel like it's still a little bit too sluggish, you could run the advanced powertrain instead of vents to get you that extra engine power boost and get you extra top speed, and you'll go faster. If you want to limit the amount of damage coming into your tank, you could run advanced armor, and instead of Deadeye, you could run the armor angling and reduce the amount of damage coming into your tank by 10%. You could, you know, run the GLD if you feel like the aim time is not as good as you want it to be. Or you could run the ammo swapper to use the fantastic HESH rounds that this vehicle does have. It's down to you and how you want to play the vehicle. I run the traction system to get the best top speed I can out of it without running also the powertrain. The vents to get everything as good as possible on this vehicle. Maximise the DPM. That is why I'm running vents. I am maximising the DPM as much as I can. And the advanced loader is for that same reason. So let's have a look at the statistics of the Leclerc T4 with all of that set up. And you can see we've now got a 78.32 km/h top speed with a 35.2 km/h reverse speed, which it does hit, like I say, with that 26.13 horsepower per ton ratio. You've got a 45.72 degrees a second hull rotation speed now, which is a hell of a lot quicker. You've got 1.9 on soft, 1.17 on firm, on medium, sorry, and 0.99 on firm, which is really solid. Again, it just does not hold this tank back whatsoever. You've got yourselves up to 625 meters of view range, which is enough to spot everything you're going to see. You got 49.84 degrees a second turret rotation speed now, which is still way quicker than your hull rotation because we took rapid aim instead of Deadeye. That's what that does for you. Like I say, I will switch it back to Deadeye because I like having that meme, but rapid aim is probably better for you in that way. You've got 0.71 accuracy during rotation now, which is knocked down a little bit. You've got 1.68 accuracy during movement, which is knocked down from that 2.21. Means the gun bloom is a hell of a lot better than it was, and that's why I don't feel I really want to run the gun stabilizer as much, because I feel like this is low enough that the gun bloom doesn't bother me that much. And with having that 1.9 second aim time, yeah, I feel like it gets aimed in quickly anyway. And you've got 0.24 accuracy during 100 meters, sorry, now with this build, which is superbly accurate. You've got 7.75 second reload, which is 5,418 damage per minute, which is pretty damn quick. So remember that if we look at these stats here, let's have a look at the Thumper and the KWS3, because they are the closest comparisons with the similar gun. Doesn't matter that the Thumper's a TD. The only thing that matters with the Thumper is the fact that you don't get a gun stabilizer. But they are all MBTs. Class in Era 3 doesn't really matter for anything in this era. So we've got 7.54 second reload, which is 5.5k DPM. 0.26 accuracy, 1.99 aim time. The accuracy during movement is 1.85. 0.68 during rotation. So the accuracy during movement is worse, rotation is slightly better, you got slightly better DPM, but your aim time is worse, and you're actually worse in terms of your 100 meters of accuracy. Worse ammo speed as well, max speed at 1,605 meters a second. So yeah, there is differences with it. You can see here it's slower as well at 67 kilometers an hour. Similar power to weight though, and it will hit that. But yeah, that's the Thumper compared to the T4. The KWS3, which is the newer of the three, or, well, is the newest one before the Leclerc T4. I have to run gun stabilizer, and that's different, right? We run the gun stabilizer because we have 6 degrees of gun depression is worse than the Leclerc in that way. We've got 2.3 second aim time, which is not as good as the Leclerc. 0.93 accuracy during rotation and 1.49 accuracy during movement is as good as we can get it, and we've had to run the gun stabilizer to get it to that point with a crew that's fairly similar. We've got 0.23 accuracy, though, which is better than the Leclerc. But we've got 5.1, nearly 5.2k DPM, which is worse than the Leclerc. So you can see, I feel like, for me, I think the Leclerc is actually the better tank out of these two. They are very, very similar tanks to the KWS3 and the T4. But I do feel like this T4 is better than that KWS3. And it's because you can set up other things to help it, as opposed to having to run the gun stabilizer, because the gun is derpy on the KWS3. But that is the T4 Terminator. That is the Ultimate Pass tank. What I'm going to do now is send you over to the replays where you can watch it in action, see how it handles, see if it's a bit of you, or see if you think, nah, you know what, I'm just going to pass on the Ultimate Pass this season. I think it is a pretty good tank, and for 4,000 gold, I don't think you could go wrong, but it just really is dependent on whether you actually enjoy the gameplay in Era 3. So without further ado, everybody, I'm going to send you over to the replays. So here we are in the replays with the Leclerc T4, and this first replay we are on Thumper Ridge. And the reason I've included this one is it's not even that good of a game, realistically, for an Era 3 tank, but it shows what the gun can do to you at times with RNG. It's one of those games that this gun is pretty accurate when you get it set up right. You can see we're not running the gun stabilizer. You'll see when I look through the gun sight that the aim circle doesn't bloom out much at all. You can see it there. It's really not bloomed out that much at all. 1.9 second aim time means this gun is going to get aimed in very quickly. So this is why I don't run the gun stabilizer. You just don't have to do it. And this gun is an epitome of just what this 140mm does. And it's the same as the KWS3 does. And the Thumper does the exact same thing as well. All these 140mm guns do the exact same thing. And that is, they are pretty accurate. But then they just go, no, I don't think so. And they give you a big middle finger and say, I'm going to miss. And that is what this replay is. And you're going to see it. We're going to be playing the more snipey one of us. And that's because we're going to do what Thumper Ridge does. Thumper Ridge does the same as Duckler Pass. We go all the way down the left and up to their cap. They go down the B line, down the 0 line, into our cap. And that's just Era 3 gameplay. So we are going to do that. And what we're going to do is we are going to rotate into their very, very good position. And that is the position at C2. On Thumper Ridge, that C2 position, B3 position, is fairly unbalanced for Era 3. Or for a lot of Cold War in general. Because if they try and go and sit in our cap, and we have at least someone spotting our cap, it can be easily sniped. All of the cap from their side can be easily sniped. You can easily farm it. And if you take that position, because of True Vision, you can just see across the map and shoot and have a free farm, which is what we're going to do. And you're going to be seeing that. This position up here is just too good for True Vision. You know, it's one of those positions that's just a little bit too good. And that's why when you see it in some of the eras where people just camp up here, this is why. We have a full turkey shoot going off here. We have the full ability to just fire at the enemy team. So, we've got the first shot into the T-72B. Set him on fire. This is why I run Deadeye. I mean, I probably could have set him on fire without Deadeye, right? But you never know. We get a nice shot into the back of the AMX-40, and we're just keeping our eye on what to shoot next. There's a Leclerc T4. We go for the back end. 739. So far, so good. The gun is behaving. So, this guy's 930 odd meters away. That one, we should have probably led it a little bit more. Even though we've got 2,050 meters a second, we should have definitely led it a little bit more, and then we would have actually hit that instead of hitting the right front end. But okay, yeah, no, you know what I was saying? The gun isn't derpy, right? The gun's going very well for us. It's just, yeah. It's laughing at me right now. We go for the shot into the AMX-40, but sadly, the AMX-40 just deviates at the last second, which means it goes down and misses. That one should have hit, but for some reason dipped into the floor. No idea why. We just look for the shot into the M3A2 Bradley, and there we go. Set him on fire again. Maybe Deadeye, maybe not. Maybe placebo effect. You know, I've got Deadeye in and it's not doing anything at all. We're just getting lucky and setting people on fire. I don't know. But it is what it is. So we try and get a shot into the Leopard over there, but sadly it doesn't go anywhere near. We've got a shot into the K1. So we just boost our reload with food and our aim time, and the shot goes in. You know what, actually? So far, so good. This gun isn't misbehaving too much. We've had one or two shots that you sort of go, oh, right, okay. What is that? That shot goes into the Leclerc because he drives forward back into the shell, so thank you, Mr. Leclerc, for that. And okay, maybe I'm being a bit harsh with the gun, and I was remembering this replay a bit worse than it was. That one ricochets off the Leclerc, but that was not that well aimed. realistically. We're up to 5.9k damage. We're just looking for a shot into the Leopard 2A5, and we put the shot straight through his drive wheel, and we end up getting the damage as well. We're up to 6.6k damage. Looking for the shot now into the Leopard 2A5 again, and that one looked like it should have hit. No idea where it went. So we didn't end up hitting the Leopard there. Just seeing if the Bradley had come out. He doesn't. We are capping, by the way. There's two people on their cap, which, again, Thickville Ridge happens every time in Era 3. So I decided, you know, okay, I'm going to go get stuck in, see if I can get any shots into anyone else. To see the T292, and it's like, hello, Mr. 292, you're a one-shot for me. I can shot. Oh, no, we capped. Right. Okay, that's Era 3 for you. We finished with the epic victory. 6,600 damage, which is not that good of a game, really, for an Era 3, with the 653 base XP for the Leclerc T4. Maybe I was being a bit too harsh, realistically, with the gun. It's one of those that's like the Leopard KWS3, like the Thumper, where shots just sometimes hit the floor that you sit there going, but you're stupidly accurate. How did that hit the floor? Or how did that miss? The shots on, like, the back of the Leclerc, essentially, and the one, or the MX-40, sorry, and the shot on that 2A5, where we had the whole of his upper plate, lower plate. I don't mind if I hit the 2A5 and ricocheted or bounced, but I didn't hit him whatsoever. And I was sat there going, how did you manage that gun? Like, you what, mate? You know? So, yeah, the gun can do that. And what I was trying to point out is just be wary that sometimes the gun does love it. But you can see with the gun handling, again, why I don't need to run the gun stabilizer on this vehicle. Basically, the aim circle just does not bloom out. It just doesn't bloom out that much at all. And because you've got the 1.9 second aim time as well, it just means that the gun does get aimed in quickly. You don't have to worry about it, and this gun is pretty damn nice in that regard. It just means you can spec out the tank in a different regard. You can go for better DPM with the vents and better everything. You know, you feel like the aim time is a little bit too, well, not good enough. You could just decide, okay, you know what, I'm just going to go for better aim time. Or, you know, you could go for the Speed Demon and become, I think it's 82 or 83 kilometers an hour with the powertrain. You know, it's completely down to you and how you want to set up the vehicle. I mean, you could also decide, you know what, I'm a meme lord. I want to run a RAM build, and you could use for the next week or two anyway, the ability to change one perk for 5 gold, get rid of Deadeye, and put on Controlled Impact and run the Spore Liner and have fun just ramming things with the Leclerc T4, because it could be pretty decent at that as well. You got good speed, you're a fairly heavy tank. If we were to go ram that Stingray, for example, he would hurt. You know, it's down to you. Is it Stingray or is it a VFM? One of the two, anyway. It's one of those that I just saw it, didn't see its name. But yeah, you would hurt them. So it's down to you and how you want to set it up. But so far, we're up to 2,000 damage. With 697 assistance, and we've used this position pretty well, but I've realised, it's happened again. My whole team has sent down the 1 line and down the J line, and a lot of their team are coming up behind us. We've turned just in time to get a shot into the T4. He was firing Heichi, so thankfully he didn't pen us, and we're just holding and watching this corner, see if we can get another shot into the T4, but it's like, nope, okay, he's pulled back. We go for the lower plate of the other T4, but sadly, we hit the upper plate and ricochet, because that's the armor on the Leclerc. It's actually pretty decent. Put a shot through the upper plate of the T72BU, and I'm looking at this going, nope, I'm not having any of this. I don't like this situation whatsoever. They could just full send that round that corner, and we're just dead. So we decide to run away. Brace the Robin, ran away, and we get ourselves to this bridge. That was always my aim, was to get myself to the bridge, get myself under cover, and then basically drag their team, if they were going to YOLO out, which happens all the time, into the rest of my team as they charge down GH line. And that gets me safe, keeps my hit points, and keeps my gun in the game. We get a nice shot there into the side of the Leclerc T4, who's starting to panic because he's realised, oh no, I've got the enemy team on my left, enemy team to the right, here I am, stuck in the middle of death. And that's what that T4 is suffering from. So we're just going to put him out of his misery, aim low, straight through the lower plate, and finish him off. Like I say, if you shoot the Leclerc T4 in the lower plate, you will pen it, because it's only 60mm of armor. It's what you want to aim for if you see this thing frontally. We get the shot into the BU to finish him off. Can't quite see that guy, and I'm thinking, okay, no, we've won this. It's 12-4 now, so we want to come out of our hiding spot and try and get towards where the rest of the damage is. We're at 6.3k damage, which again, I'm not that happy with, because 6.3k damage isn't that good for Era 3, and we want to go push our damage up some more if we can. So hello, Mr. Leclerc T4s. Hello, I'm here for your damage. We get the shot through the drive wheel, which tracks and pens it, and shooting at another Leclerc T4, or another Leclerc in general, it's actually pretty easy to track and pen them, and go through that drive wheel. You've just got to avoid the little bit of spaced armor that's over the track, over the drive wheel, over the front, just like the standard Leclerc, and you will track and pen it a lot. And like I say, if you shoot it on the left-hand side, as you're looking at it from the front, you are quite likely to actually ammo rack it as well, which is always a great time because you limit their DPM in that regard. We finished the game with a pretty decent total there for the Leclerc T4 in an Era 3 battle. We finished with the epic victory, 4 kills, 8.2k damage, the first class, 1475 base XP, a fairly average game there for the Leclerc T4 in Era 3. And we're now on to the third replay, and this third replay is on Dragon's Ridge, aka Era 3 Death Simulator. The rice paddies, man, they are dangerous places, you know? They like to take tanks' lives. Be careful on Dragon's Ridge, because fall damage, death, it happens. It's one of those things. So on Dragon's Ridge, Era 3, what I'm going to do can be a little bit dodgy. So if I go to the position at E4, that on Era 3 is very dodgy, and I just default to go in there quite a lot because that's what I do in World War II. But a lot of the time it ends up in death very quickly because they just full send around the corner, full send over the ridgeline directly to my right, and just finish you off. They don't care that there's about 5 or 6 people possibly behind you farming them. They will just see you in the open, in this field, and full send you, because that's Era 3. And then you die. It doesn't matter if the 5 or 6 tanks that do that die as well, but they just came and got you, right, which is pain. So this position here is a very, very dangerous position to take. But so far, they don't seem to have anyone over here. So we're just going to keep putting shots out towards this Leclerc that was in the little hill up there. We have to be careful, though, because naturally, with Era 3, the way, with everything having such good mobility, everything can change very, very quickly. And that is if they decide, oh, there's a tank to our right, they will all come charging. And, again, death comes swiftly. That MBT 80 has managed to get a couple of shots into us. I've started to ignore him a bit to try and get another shot into the Leclerc, but he is still farming away at us. He managed to track and pen us there, and I've bled too many hit points, realistically, to that MBT 80. We've dropped low where he can't see us over that little hill, and we've got some teams. We've got a BMP with us. We've got another, I think, is it a 292 or is it another Leclerc, who are here to help us. But we've got so many people behind us. You can see we've got 5 tanks sat at J345. So that position is not very good if we keep in the enemy team on the other side of that ridge, because none of our team will actually help us in that regard, and we will just die. So we managed to get a shot into the K1, who overextended, because that, again, that's what tends to happen on Dragon's Ridges. People will see you and push over to try and shoot you. They don't really care that there's stuff at the back that could shoot them. And he gets shut down by our allies. We just made sure that we were going to get that shot into the Leopard. And he gets shut down by the Challenger 1 that's sitting behind us. Go for the side of the Leclerc's turret, but sadly the shot went high and ricocheted. That was the gun accuracy just being like, nope, not doing that. And yeah, well, even though we were fully aimed at the side of his turret, it still went high and hit the top and ricocheted. But RNG, it giveth and it taketh. We get the shot into the side of the T4, putting him down to a one-shot, and it'd be nice to get rid of that T4 if we can, but he's pulled back to a position where I can't shoot him. I go for the back drive wheel of the Leclerc because, again, it's always good if you can track things in Era 3, because you will get a lot of assistance very, very quickly, and it can be great for your team. So we go for the back end of the Leclerc T4. We didn't take our own advice there. We should have shot the back of his turret, because we could have damaged his ammo rack, and possibly popped it, you never know. But we do shut down the Leclerc T4. And now this guy is a 2-shot for us, so I want to try and get rid of another gun out of the game if I can. We put a shot into his side that puts him down to within a 1-shot range, but he is boosting his hit points with the patch kit, so we couldn't quite kill him with 1 shot as we low rolled for 671. He's got 23 hit points. I could go and help the heavy tank with the other heavy tank, but again, I want to get rid of a gun out of the game. Sadly, we didn't fire quick enough, and it cost our T4 his hit points, but we did get the other Leclerc T4. There is a lot of Leclerc T4s, if you hear me say it a lot. There's a lot of Leclerc T4s out there, naturally, as it is the ultimate pass tank. It will die down eventually. But we're up to 7.5k damage with 4.3k assistance. We get YOLO by this T-72B. That is exactly what I'm on about. Happens all the time. He saw me down here on me Todd and went, let's get him. YOLO'd in and died for it because he got killed by everyone from behind me. Happens all the time. It's something you've got to be very, very, very careful of. We try and get a shot into the Leclerc T4 there. We probably aimed a little bit too low, but also RNG said no. But again, we're trying to get as many shots in as possible. We shoot the back of his turret there. Don't actually damage his ammo rack, which is something I was expecting. Our BU ends up killing himself for full health, which is not helpful. We get a shot into the side of the T, put him down to a one-shot, but the 2A5 comes out of nowhere and finishes us off. I was hoping to possibly get some help from the other guys, but it didn't quite happen. But they're coming in to save the day, and we're finished with 10.5k damage, 1,533 base XP, the 4.6k assistance as well. So what? That's 15k combined. Confederate, the first class, 1,533 base XP. A really nice game there for the Leclerc T4 on Dragon's Ridge. It shows you what the Leclerc can do in that sort of situation, where you just keep yourself going with the gun. Just keep the gun firing. Keep putting yourselves into position to keep the gun going. The armor works decently, but on the whole, it will still get penned quite a lot. And you can work the enemy tanks with what is pretty damn nice DPM at 5.4k with this vehicle. Obviously, it is lower than, say, the KWS3 that has that 5... No, sorry, it's faster than the KWS3, sorry. But the Thumper is very, very close to it in regards of its DPM. I said those two tanks, because they are just exceptionally... This is the thing with tank design when you get in towards, you know, the more modern era, right? And you're looking at the Leclercs, the Abrams, the Leopards. When we're talking about the limit of what they can do with some of these tanks, it is basically, oh, I've got a Leclerc. It's exactly the same as the Leclerc, but it's got a 140mm gun now. Thumper's an M1 Abrams, but it's got a 140mm gun. It's a Leopard KWS3, except for the gun being mounted on the opposite side. It's a Leopard 2, but with a 140mm gun. It just gets a little bit boring with the tank designs a little bit, because it's just like, hey, what if we put this gun on it? And they're basically all the same gun, pretty much, because, you know, tank sharing projects. But that means that the tanks themselves, in the way that they play, are very, very similar. And if you've played any of the Tech Tree variants, in the Tech Tree Leclerc, the Tech Tree Leopard 285, the Tech Tree M1 Abrams, you know how these tanks are going to handle, how they're going to play. They just hit harder, right? Because they've got the 700 damage, which kind of in some ways makes them better, because the higher alpha is a lot nicer for those sort of situations where you get only one chance to shoot someone, as opposed to having the max DPM, right? But hey-ho. We're on to the fourth and final replay, by the way, on Redshire here, and we're up to 2.8k damage. We had the shot into the side of the Leopard 2's turret, but sadly the gun just went absolutely not and only tracked him. Well, the shot went to the far left and tracked him only. We get a shot towards the Leclerc there. We got an enemy hit. I don't actually think we penned him, but we'll, okay. Put a shot into the M1A2 and I realise, oh no! There's just these two heavy tanks in front of me, isn't there? And that's basically most of their team. So we get a parting shot into the M1 Abrams. I'm like, I don't want to be here anymore. My death will be chasing me if I stay here all alone. So sadly, we've got to leave our heavy tank in the lurch. But at the same time, what's the point of staying, watching him die, get an extra shot in, and then being swarmed by about 9 tanks? Or 8 tanks, actually, because that's what is over there, 8 tanks. There's no point in that. You may as well recognise the situation and go, okay, this situation sucks, I'm going to die, I'm more helpful to my team with all of my hit points if I get out of dodge and get into a better position to use my gun. So we moved straight towards where our team was, and now we can progress with the team and try and get rid of the rest of the enemy team. So it's 10-8 at the minute, which means the team is leading, make that 9-8. They've got 9... They've got 8 tanks over there, we've got 9 tanks over here. So we're going to take a different approach to try and get into a better position to shoot the enemy team from behind and go to the ridgeline from their side. But that's where we come across a 2A5. It's like, hello, Mr. 2A5, where have you been? I wasn't expecting you, buddy. We get a shot straight towards him, but that even with 854 pen, that wasn't going to go through the Leopard 2A5. And he's not realistically giving us a shot. But 2 of our heavy tanks have got stuck in. We've still got... This is where we've got to be careful, because 2 of our heavy tanks have kind of got stuck in. 2 of our heavy tanks are camping, and the other 2 have sort of stopped in a really awkward spot, which means we are very split up, but so are they at this point. So we need to just try and help out these 2 heavy tanks behind us. There's no point sort of sitting back and not getting stuck in, because if we leave our 2 heavy tanks outnumbered against these 3, and then some of their other tanks come and get stuck in, it's where the game snowballs very, very quickly in the wrong direction. So we get stuck in to help these guys. We get a shot into one of the Leopards, put him down to a 1-shot. I really kind of want to get rid of that guy if I can, because again, getting guns out of the game is always glorious. Even a tank on 1 HP can do a significant amount of damage. But the Leclerc, sorry, no, the Leopard 2A4 gave us a nice shot into his side, which we were never turning down. We try and track and pen the Leopard 2A4, but it just didn't go... Sorry, 2A5, but it just didn't... It was a 2A4. It was the 2A4 I shot and tracked. It didn't pen and track him, but we do actually shut down the 2A5. Sorry there. My brain was going, there's a 2A4 there, there's a 2A5 here. What is going on? They look exactly the same to me. You know, brain farted. But now there's only one tank left. It is the 2A4 because the team managed to shut down the other guys. Looking for maybe a high roll for the kill shot. No, 628? That's a low roll. So we didn't manage to get the kill there on the 2A4, but maybe we might get there in time to shut him down. But no, the Leclerc finishes him off and finishes the game with the 2 kills, 11,239 damage, the epic victory, 1,548 base XP, with the 1,500 assistance, the first class, the high caliber. Yeah, the 1,548 base XP. A really nice game there. Again for the Leclerc T4 Terminator, which is a pretty damn solid tank. 4,000 gold, you can't go wrong. Only pick it up if you do enjoy the Era 3 gameplay. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
A great success.